To talk more about new and about making instances of objects, I've used our example template to create some chapter 10 notes for us, and I hope that this was very familiar by this point in the semester. Here you can see exactly where I'm creating my instance. So if I were to use the terminology, scan is an instance of a scanner, and rand is an instance of random. They're actual instances of those classes that I can now use. If I needed to have another scanner that's maybe not reading from the input, like reading from a file, I could say new scanner down here somewhere and call it something besides scan, so I could have multiple instances of it. One thing that chapter 10 does is it talks about methods that return objects, and so I want to practice making one here because we haven't done that so much. Mostly, I think up until this point, we've been returning ints and booleans and things from methods and not so much objects. Here's an example of that. So when we made methods before, so you've been making methods now for a while, the whole point of making a method is to encapsulate a bunch of code so that you don't have to worry about it anymore. Like, for example, scan double. So if I write the scan double method, I can test the heck out of the scan double method, and then I'm 100% sure the scan double method works perfectly. Then I can kind of forget about the scan double method. I don't even have to remember how it works anymore. I can just call it from anywhere in my code that wants it to read in a double in a particular range and do some error checking, etc. So that's the beauty of making methods. And so what if right now I want to say, you know what, I want a scanner. I don't care if it's coming from a file input. I don't care if it's coming from the standard input. I just want to get a scanner and use it to get input for my program. So this is called adding a level of indirection. So here I am in main and I am making a scanner and I know it's coming from the standard input because I have to specify that here. But I would like to say, you know what, let's just give me a method that gives me back a scanner. I don't care where it comes from. So this is adding a level of indirection. It's also called black boxing something. So if you want to just write some functionality and know what it does, kind of like scan double, and then you can kind of put a black box around it so you don't have to think about it anymore, and or remember how it works, and then just call it whenever you need it. So something like that for the scanner might look like this: public static scanner get scanner, and it could return thing that we did before. This one's happening to return a scanner from the system input every time, but it doesn't have to. We don't have to know how this works at all. All we have to do is from main call get scanner, and then we're done. The random number, I think I'll leave it there so you can have one example of the old way and example of the new way. So this is all the book is talking about when they're talking about returning a new scanner or returning an object. You need to use the keyword new to actually get an instance of that object, and then you're going to be returning that actual object. So your return type is scanner because that's what you're returning. You're returning a scanner. And then this whole thing is that scanner that was returned, which then gets put into the scan variable. So this is an example of a method that returns an object right here. We can't really set any parameters on the scanner. We don't really have any capability apart from just making one and returning it. There are some other additional things that the textbook is doing with point and rectangle that you can look at up yourself. I'll do one in the next video about string.